Hey everybody, Stepan Hovnanian from Google Plus Business Spotlight. Welcome to today's episode. It's going to be a really interesting discussion because we're kind of taking the idea of Hangouts outside of Google Plus, and we're going to talk to three amazing people from the companies Unbounce and ConversionXL about a project that they did called Page Fights that that did just that, right? It was like almost to the point where we everything happened outside of Google Plus, but we're using Google Plus technology. So before we jump in, because I want to intro them and bring them on board and talk about how the whole thing evolved. I got to give you guys some shout outs for tweeting about the show, especially on short notice, because Ben and I were away last week and it was very tricky to get all this stuff up and running in a timely fashion. So let's see, we got Carrie Ann Foster, Monica Schmidt, Denise Wakeman, Mark Horn. Thanks, guys, for tweeting. Sheila Hensley, Nahasan Bastine. I hope I said that right. Unbounce. Hey, you guys rock. Thanks for tweeting, and Blue Camera as well. I really appreciate it when you guys use the hashtag #GPLUSSPOTLIGHT to help us get the word out about this. Oh, and Susan Finch. Thank you so much. And I guess without further ado, let's bring on. We've got Tommy Walker here from Google Plus Business Spotlight. I'm Google Plus Business Spotlight. From ConversionXL, we've got Georgiana Laudi. You told me how to do it, and I said it with my Jersey accent, so I screwed it up.
It's Laudi. It's good.
Laudi, thank you. And Tia Kelly, both from Unbounce. And obviously here with my co-host today, Ben Fisher. How are you today, buddy?
Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday.
Great stuff. So, Tommy, tell us about how Page Fights started. Let's dig in.
Sure. So in order to talk about how Page Fight started, we've got to rewind back a year ago. I did a show very briefly. I had like probably 4 or 5 episodes that we did called the Mindfire Chats. And what Mindfire Chats was, is I said, well, it was actually just an attempt to get a lot of reach really quick. I said, let's interview 3 people at the same time. Hangouts is the best way to do that, but not everybody's on board with Hangouts. And I saw that On Air actually allowed you to embed the Hangout. And I was like, well, wait a second, if this is an embeddable element, how come I can't just embed this onto my own landing page? And then I'm like, what other things can be embedded here? So then I just was like, embed all the things. I found out that the Twitter chat can be embedded, and then I was like, wait a second, you can create, my email form could be embedded, and I'm like, you can create this really cool kind of experience that doesn't rely, that's not a webinar, it's not a Twitter hashtag, and you get to bring that whole live element to everything. And have the entertainment values of a show. As long as you put all of these embeddable elements into one page, there you go. Now you can take the fear and friction away from, the getting on Google Plus, and you can have all of the best live interaction stuff happen all in one place, while also creating your own experience. Because one of the problems I think I have always felt with Hangouts is that if you're doing it in just the Google Plus environment, you're limiting your audience by a lot, because people go, I don't know if I can do Hangouts or not. So we did that. I did that for a few episodes. It became a lot to manage, and I basically tabled the idea, the concept for a while. And I wrote for Unbounce for a while. I do guest posts with them every now and again, and I don't even remember how it came up, but it just was like, hey, why don't we try this, guys? Like, this seems like it would be a fun joint project together. And it's not a webinar, and we made that very clear in the initial stages, and it just kind of evolved into this thing where we got to leverage I hate that word, get in touch with both of our audiences and create a new experience, but have multiple people contribute to it, and it was I think it turned out very well. I was very pleased with the first round of episodes there.
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about Page Fights in general. So what, I guess, Gia, we'll toss it up to you, or Tia, either one of you guys want to hop in. Tell us about what the idea behind Page Fights was.
I'll take it. The original idea, really, because we're a landing page platform for marketers, we get tons of inquiries and about, can I get my landing page critiqued, and is this a good landing page? And so a lot of our content, obviously, on our blog and our webinars and our ebooks are surrounding landing pages, and a lot of people looking for direct feedback, and they'd reach out on like Twitter, via email, any number of ways to try to get their landing page critiqued. So it just seemed like a natural fit. Actually, originally, before HOAs were even a thing, I remember when we first started on Google+, we had this idea where we were going to just use an image and then do a chat back and forth between like a CRO we had on staff and Ollie, and they were just going to do a chat back and forth, and we bought the domain pagefights.com originally for that idea. We're just going to register the domain. Actually, Ollie registered it probably at like 5 a.m. one morning, just thinking like, we got to own this. And so, yeah, it's just, we get a lot of demand for that kind of thing. So it just seemed like the natural thing to do.
So cool. So you had 3 episodes, right? Each one was there live voting during the show?
On the 3rd episode, yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow, that was really cool. So now let's oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say Tia would probably be the best person, because I don't actually, was it the last episode that had the live voting, and the other ones were after the event?
Yeah, like the original idea we had, and since then we'll talk about like what we're going to do a little bit differently, but our original idea was to make it a little bit like an American Idol type style of show where people were voted on. So the first episode and the second episode both had live voting that extended about an hour past the show. But then the 3rd episode, because we needed to wrap it up, we wanted to make it exciting, we put the live voting right at the end of the show while people were still on, and then announced the results. So that's kind of the approach we're going to take more on this new round, new version that we're going to launch in next week, 2 weeks?
Something like that, yeah. 2 weeks.
Couple weeks.
Yeah.
I think it's July 11th is if you're on pagefights.com, you see it. I think the next one starts July 11th. We at Steady Demand may or may not have an entry into Page Fights. Just put it out there.
Oh, I think we do have one that is entered, and yeah, rip it up.
Please.
That's all I could say. Rip it up. I really love the whole. I love the whole concept, the one page to kind of embed them all, to give it a little bit of a Lord of the Rings kind of feel to it. But you know, I mean, you're totally right. There's tons of friction when it comes to the different platforms. Not everybody's on there. And when it comes to conversion is, I mean, it's key to every business, but not every business really pays attention to it. So using the different technologies and like throwing them onto one page, I think it's really a great move.
Yeah, I mean that was the main idea behind it too. Is it's like if you're going to do Hangouts, right? Most people will say, you hear a lot of the early adopter social media people be like, do Hangouts and it's going to build your business, and it's like, well, how, right? Unless I tell someone at the end of the show, hey, go over here and check out this thing. You're already introducing an element of friction there, right? Where you're saying, okay, now do this extra stuff. But it's like, if you're saying, watch it on this place, and you funnel all of that traffic to that one place, you now have control of the entire environment, which is fantastic. But also, Gia said this before, like if you want to, on the show, she says, like, if you want to sign up for the next episode, just go down there and put your email in. You don't have to leave the page. And the experience can unfold in a way that's not like a webinar, right? Because you can't do that stuff on a webinar, not the same way. And it's not. It's totally unique, and that was one of the main things that we had emphasized in the very beginning, right? Is not only does the show format have to be outside of Talking Heads, because Tia and Dan and I had actually had a lot of conversation around that, but also. That the entire experience, the funnel itself, has to feel different from everything else that we were doing, and I think that's what makes that's why you guys are interested in it, and that's why I think other people, as we continue to build it, will become interested in it too, because it's not blogging, it's not webinars, it's something totally unique on its own, and that was what we tried to do.
Yeah, removing the tool as a barrier was, Tommy, when you said that, I was like, yes, 100%, of course we have to. It's like with webinars, which we started doing, I think we're on our like 21st or something like that. With webinars, one of the limitations was most webinar platforms require that you download a software. And so we went with the most obvious platform we possibly could, the one that we knew that the most amount of people would be using to lower that barrier to entry. But with HOAs, that's completely removed, which is a big advantage. Also, I mean, landing pages come very natural. They're natural to us, right? And so we try to keep we're all about targeted landing pages, and every single campaign deserves its own, and so it's really in our blood, as it should be in every marketer's. But this was just a really great sort of showcase of that too.
So you brought in Twitter. You said Twitter. Was there any other types of feeds that you could bring in?
There was, but we kind of wanted to make the focus really on the show and what was going on live. Twitter, we found, just because we have such a big audience on Twitter, that was the one that we focused on. We could have done like a Facebook feed instead, but engagement's just not the same. And we still did leave comments open on like Google Plus during the event. People could comment through there. So when we did the Q&A in the third round, we also pulled from Google Plus and Twitter.
So that's actually an interesting question too. Like logistically, let's talk about that a little bit, because it sounds like there's 5 of us in here now, and that you probably needed 5 more in the background to pull off something like this. Who wants to handle that?
Tommy will take this one over, but he'll probably tell you a little bit about the issues we had in the first episode.
Oh man,
tuning out.
So logistically with one of these things, there's a lot of moving pieces, right? First of all, you got to get the funnel set up in the beginning, and that's, we had tried to make the point of going like, let's try to keep interaction happening in the email and use email like a real channel, et cetera, et cetera. But then when you get to the actual page, right, one of the things that I was doing that most people just didn't see because I'm in the background is just doing manual switching of whoever's being shown, right? HOAs have a really great ability to switch, cameras based on whoever's talking.
Like
But yeah, you get into the situation where someone coughs or farts or whatever, and now suddenly that's right on them, and that's not good. So I wanted to make sure that I was switching cameras while also managing the different pages that were being shown, and all of those pages were live, and I was just doing screen share on the Hangout and using basically my Google Chrome shortcodes on my keyboard to get things switched back and forth. All the meanwhile, Tia was monitoring social media, right? Tia, you were doing the social media stuff, and we're basically all chatting with each other at the same time, too, in the group chat to make sure that there was still constant communication going on during the show. So people were like, okay, you got to wrap it up, and Gia sees that, and then it goes there. And there was a lot that happened from the design standpoint, right? Unbounce's design team did a fantastic job of designing the pages and making it so it was all like this one cohesive experience that started from the email all the way to the actual page itself. I don't know if I actually answered any questions there.
You did. You said that you need somebody somebody or somebodies to manage social interactions. Because you're putting a feed on there so people can experience. I mean, if you're just going to leave it, that's not really cool. Which is kind of what we're doing right now with anybody who's tweeting about the show. So, hopefully, if we do start to adopt some of these ideas, there's a note to self, right? We need somebody to be able to monitor what's going on Twitter, so we could at least talk about it if we're not going to use comment tracker and bring them up here. But you also talked about how you have group chat going on, and how important that is, and then somebody managing the managing the cameras so that when Tommy farts, it doesn't go over to his screen. Sorry, but no, it's important. You want to have a nice produced show, and I will say, I mean, I'd encourage everybody to watch all 3 of them. It was a very well produced show. There wasn't a lot of confusion going on. You could sit and watch and really get a lot of entertainment out of it, even if you watched on YouTube after the fact.
Well, Tia might also, I think you have a really good example of all of those things kind of coming together, too. In the very first episode, the first 15 minutes of the episode, and I'll stop talking, there were some challenges where having that kind of framework in the background helps out.
Yeah, so this is learning experiences for everybody else because this is what we went through. We had 2 main issues that happened because it was our first Hangout all together, I guess, really. It was our I think, Unbounce. We hadn't done any, so this was only as guests, not as producers or hosts. So the first thing that happened that went wrong was our landing page. I had embedded, I had like an image or a video that was embedded on there, but it wasn't the right one for the live event yet, and I totally forgot to switch it out until we started, and then everyone's like, Rick comes in, he's like, it's not loading. And so then me and Corey just like furiously replaced the embed code, and it was fine. But then same thing, Tommy didn't realize, because of the way that you see things and how viewers see it a little bit differently, we didn't realize that we were flipping back and forth so fast between pages and faces, and everyone's like, show us more landing pages. Because all we saw was Pep and Ollie the whole time. So it took us about like 15 minutes to figure that out, but once we did, it was smoother. That was really the only feedback we got.
The hard part about that was that you guys knew that, and I suspected, but I had no idea. I'm speaking and I'm watching, so we didn't really know that the landing pages weren't showing, and so you had to get my attention in order to tell me that like nobody can see the landing pages, to get Tommy's attention and my attention too. And anyways,
so what that looks like is hanging out growing pains.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what that looks like in group chat too is just all caps, like, hey.
Yeah. Totally.
Stop.
I got a ton of emails too, because we sent the recording out to the list after, right? Because for the people who didn't attend and who registered, and so many people replied to my email saying like, what a waste, I don't want to see Ollie's face, like I've seen enough of Pep, I want to see the landing pages. And I wrote many apology emails to people complaining because they didn't make it to the 15-minute mark to see that we fixed it. So
right.
Yeah, I had quite a bit of explaining to do, but the second one was way better.
Yeah, we smoothed it out, got a better balance within episode 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So speaking of emails, so you mentioned, Tommy, beforehand that you have you had an opt-in, and so like the primary driver to tell people about this was email, right? The whole idea was to bring in people. It was lead gen in some respect, right?
Yeah. So there are actually a couple of different things going on there. So we both ConversionXL and Unbounce, we emailed our initial list, but one of the other things that we did was a friend by integration. Where once you sign up, and I think that this part of the system is also getting refined a little bit more too, once you sign up, you have the ability to share with your friends, and we can track, if you're doing it through friend by, we can track who was referred through your link. So we had a couple different contests going on at the same time, and I think the contests, like the amount of contests that we were doing at the same time, probably got confusing. But there was a whole, if you refer the most people, then you also get a prize. That aspect of it allowed us to tap into people's social networks a little bit more, and help that grow a little bit more. So it wasn't just a matter of like, let's just talk to people who are both on the ConversionXL and the Unbounce list, but let's also tap into their social networks because we're doing something a little bit different, and it incentivized, I think, the share a little bit more, because it wasn't just everybody use this hashtag. It was like, we will actually give you a reason to start bringing a friend. So yeah, it wasn't just the email. It was email and the social channels. And I think as we grow this a little bit more, we've all kind of agreed that we're going to start focusing on the social aspect a little bit more. Because it's as close to real-time interaction and live entertainment as you're going to get, I think, in the marketing space.
Yeah, and speaking of entertaining, you guys pulled some clips out of the first one, I think, with some very entertaining quotes. So those could all turn into quote graphics. I mean, you got a lot of content that you could build around a 30 to 40-minute show, especially where there's nuggets like that refer to butt cream and puke and things like that.
5-star experience, but have 1-star design. That was my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was great.
And that's the type of stuff that you can only get live too, right? One of the things that's cool about the live format, and I'm going to stop talking in a second here, I promise, is one of the things that's cool about the live format though is that things happen in conversation that you wouldn't normally get if it were to be scripted, or you were trying to run it as, like, webinars are good, but everybody knows that you're there to eventually sell something, right? This is a very different experience, I think, and being able to pull that type of stuff out was cool. And Tia, you actually, I didn't even know that the preview was made, so it was a really cool experience to go back and see that.
Yeah, we just made another one, so I'm planning to hopefully use that one a little further ahead of time, because last time we kind of just made it as a placeholder, but we didn't actually promote the trailer. So
Right. Yeah.
get people excited about round 2.
Yeah. One of the other things too about the embedding on the page is that it really does, it becomes about the content more so than the tool itself, which is we're really, like I was mentioning about, like, you know, webinar software, having to download it, then all of a sudden it becomes about the software. And in this case, we got to just focus wholeheartedly on the actual content and value that people are getting out of it, rather than the tool and the tricks and the, I mean, we did use some of the stupid, like, hats and stuff like that, I think, at one point, but otherwise it really was just about, like, absorbing the content and getting people, giving people the opportunity also to engage with the content and be a part of the content, which I think was sort of our win, lead gen wise. Like, our social communities, don't get me wrong, are super, super important to us, and you know, Twitter's always been a big part of our marketing and of course our content distribution, but at the same time we know we do our best work via email, and you know, we convert more prospects to customers via email and get them a little bit further down the funnel, you know, taking part in bigger pieces like webinars or ebooks and things like that. So it is nice for us to get that engagement off outside of Google Plus, because they'll engage with us, give us their email, they want something in return, so we do offer them the value of participating in the HOA too. So that sort of keeps the whole thing moving along and is sort of a nice nice lead gen driver for us.
Well, that's what I was going to ask next was, so you kind of started out haphazardly, you've got a lot of different types of mechanisms and contests going on and all sorts of things, you know, during these page fights. But are you using your own kind of kernel knowledge about conversion throughout the entire process to say, okay, it's time to start split testing, you know, can we run, you know, a giveaway with the social channels plus to sign up for the email list at the same time, and is it going to give us the best results, you know, each time, and to kind of A/B testing that. At the end of the day, you've done 3 of these. Are you seeing a real good positive ROI?
Am I answering that? We need to improve, obviously. I mean, the first 3 episodes were awesome and they were a great experience. We knew before we did our first episode, we were obviously thinking about it from, like, okay, so how are we going to be strategic about this, and how are we going to make this awesome? And so it was like, okay, we're going to use a dedicated landing page, obviously. We're going to get them involved in the content, obviously, especially because landing page critiques are something that's so desired from us. And then how do we also not just talk to the same people we've always been talking to, but open it up? And so we opened it up to prizing, which is an incentive for sharing, and then the sharing incentive for sharing, and we just opened up the prizes so that it would, like, we cast a really wide net, and so we probably need to refine a little bit, and it will get a little bit more manageable, and hopefully we won't spend, you know, 5 minutes on housekeeping at the beginning of the episodes and things like that. We don't want to spend our time there.
Yeah, I can jump in and say a few of the things that we're planning to do differently already. We actually, so Ollie got onto the landing page first of all and has updated a lot of that stuff. So we're going to start testing that once we're starting from a little bit of a new page. We couldn't really test against what we had before because it's going to be it's quite a bit different what Ollie came up with. We're going to, for the sharing, the friend by thing I think was still a little too complicated. So I made it super simple, and it's literally just like click to tweet and you're entered. We are introducing guest judges. So this is where we're going to hopefully grow our audience. Our first guest, I guess, is going to be Rand Fishkin of Moss. Yay! So it's going to be
excellent choice there.
Yeah. We also have a new plan for email. And we wanted to do this originally, and Tommy had this idea, but we just kind of weren't at that point yet. We were trying to keep stuff simple. But we're going to use the email channel as more of a conversational tool with the page fights list that we built. So we're going to be sending them things ahead of time, like the trailer, asking them questions in advance, give them a little bit of an update on, like, the people who are going to be on the show, and just make it more personalized instead of rather just like, hey, the event's coming up, make sure you come. So we're going to try out a few new things.
I love that. It makes your list more valuable too, because now somebody has an incentive beyond just finding out about the show, which quite honestly, if you're expanding your social footprint, they're going to find out about it anyway. So now it gives you, I mean, I'm a huge fan of having either exclusive or added value content in your emails. So that's huge.
Yeah, and the big part about doing email that way too is to break away from the do as much as we can to separate it from the traditional webinar experience as we can, because as far as email is concerned, it's a very if I'm not getting like, oh, here's 10% off, or your webinar, thanks for signing up for the webinar, okay, your webinar starts in 10 minutes. Like, if there's no communication between when I sign up and when I actually attend, I may lose interest in the whole reason why I've signed up in the first place. So by bridging that gap with that, I'm thinking that we're going to have a better engagement for when we actually have people do the live event.
Don't forget though, because the biggest draw, one of the biggest draws off the bat, is that you can submit your landing page to be critiqued live, right? Which that's the whole sort of, that's the big draw, and so that brings a lot of people to the live event itself. So our attendance ratio will actually be probably typically higher than one that's just generic, like invite, show up kind of thing, which is one of the things I was going to say is, however, you can try to engage your HOA audience off of Google+, the better, and that can be done. I mean, we happen to have a really great format for that because we want pages to be, live critiqued, and our audience and our community loves that. But at the same time, there's ways to do it without that, right? There's like surveys, you can ask questions in advance, you could have a guest on your show and ask them ahead of time what question they want answered by that guest, which is all sort of added buy-in to actually attending, and your attendance ratio will go up, and your registration will go up too. We did tests for our webinars in asking for landing page submissions ahead of time. Registration and attendance both increased because we asked for one additional thing, and so they got the sense like, okay, I'm gonna get my time in the sun, and they're gonna talk about my page, and I'm gonna get free advice from experts. And anyways, there's a lot of ways to do that for sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, and just to go back to Ben's question for a second about it doing ROI, I look at Breaking Bad, which is one of the best television shows on the planet, right? But that show didn't ever actually pick up until about the 3rd season because nobody else knew what was going on, and it had to get that sort of critical mass. And I think that, could there have been things that ended up from an ROI standpoint better for Hangout or for what we were doing with page fights? Yes, but also it's also we said this kind of internally is you have to temper that with we're trying something absolutely completely different than anything anybody else is doing right now. Nobody else is doing this stuff. So for it to catch on and for the experience to really get its hooks in, we might need to give it a little bit of time. I think the people who show up for this next round are going to be even more excited than they were the first time around because now they know what to expect, and we can iterate on making that even better for the next time. So
we took away a lot of the confusion.
Work in progress.
Yeah.
I think we took away a lot of the confusion this time around by the way that we worded the landing page. The original landing page was kind of confusing. It was like, do I watch? Like, do I have to put in my page? So we just made it a little bit more clear. And then same thing with, like, I don't know, just in general, people, in our first email, we had actually said it's going to be on Google+, but don't worry, you don't need to have an account. Like, it was just, we had too much confusion in a lot of our original messaging that we're just eliminating completely this time around. So.
I think
format too also way cut down. We're not doing 3 episodes anymore. We're doing 1. And it's not going to be 3 half-hour episodes. It's going to be 1 one-hour episode, and everything is going to happen between the start and the end of that episode. There's no, I mean, the like voting-wise and critiques and stuff will all happen in that one episode. So it really cleans it up. We clean up the housekeeping stuff at the beginning, and we also make the end really sort of more engaging. So simplifying, definitely simplifying. Yeah.
I think one big takeaway for people who are watching that we can get from you guys because of your background, right, with landing page optimization and conversion and things like that, like you understand the things that you should be looking for, probably more so than people who aren't in that boat or just getting started out, trying to feel their way a little. So again, another reason I wanted to have you guys on to talk about page fights was because we're now getting kind of like expert level insights because of your background. Are you experts in creating this type of live event? Well, not just yet. You're learning, but the things that are important and that should be measured, and the hot buttons and how to turn this into conversion. So at the bare minimum, learning from your experience is huge for people. Again, even like ourselves. I mean, Ben and I, we're starting a thing called the Brandmasters Page Clinic with Steady Demand. And we're trying to figure out ways where we can, bring people in and talk to them about how to do certain things related to Google Plus and business pages and all. And we're modeling, I'm going to be perfectly honest, we're modeling a lot of it off of what we've learned from you guys for this whole show. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. But it's really important, too, to realize what you need to be paying attention to and not just going after, the new shiny or just trying stuff for the hell of it. You want to have some type of strategy behind it, or at least a way to measure it so you know if it was a complete bomb or not.
Well, I think what's also important there too is that even being all conversion masters, is that they're kind of going at it with a let's see kind of what happens approach, but constantly massaging the process all throughout. I mean, because you've got to have ROI in mind, of course, at the end of the day. You know what your end goals are, but you're not working towards it with, okay, we need to get to this goal within this certain period of time. It's more of like, this is it'll happen. It'll definitely happen, and you'll use your experience to get there. But for right now, let's see what the audience really needs.
Yeah, great stuff. So the next one starts July 11th, right?
Yep. We're gonna start taking you. If you just head to pagefights.com, all the information's on there, and sign up. And if you're brave enough, you can submit your landing page.
We'll be sending an email out. I think it's early next week is the official invitation email. But yeah, the pagefights.com is obviously up. But we're still fine tuning a bit of that page. But like we always are, a landing page is never done, so it's not 100% finalized. But we're gonna do that by the end of this week, and then next week send out the official invite. And yeah, Rand is joining us, which is huge. It's gonna be like a good cop, bad cop, really bad cop scenario. And I know exactly who all three are. But I mean, between Rand, Ollie, and Pep, it'll be a pretty good wide range of reviews. That's for sure.
Oh, I really hope ours is in there. Yeah,
I've known Rand for a while and just saw him in SMX. Let him rip us apart.
Very cool. And you guys have Unbounce. You guys have an ebook out, right? You were talking, or I noticed, or it's coming or something.
Yeah, actually, our webinar ebook I launched today. Yes, that launched today. Actually, there's a blog post that went up about it. Sorry, I can't remember because I think the email's going out tomorrow. But yeah, our latest ebook is on webinar marketing, which is similar in a lot of ways to what we were talking about today. A lot of what I know personally, what I took to this format of page fights, I took from webinars, which we've been doing for a while. And actually, webinars were and are still our #1 customer acquisition channel. They are huge, huge, huge for us, and we have a lot of success with them. And so we basically lay it out all on the table, and there's 17 steps to how we actually do them, and the results that we've seen, and the things that we've tested, and that's all in the ebook. And there's also a webinar registration landing page template that we're giving away with the ebook as well, which has been demanded. I've received a ton of emails myself about it, and I know our customer success team has too. So that template will be included in there as well. So that should be pretty cool. It's on.
Cool.
I'll post the link in the comments.
Blog. Sorry?
Yeah.
I'll post the link in the comments.
Okay, awesome.
Cool. Tommy, anything exciting going on at ConversionXL?
I mean, we post really great content on a regular basis.
You sure do, man. It's
No, we have if you're interested in 13 ways to increase your conversion rates right now, that's our lead gen offer, and it's a really great guide to the different things that you can do, a lot of low-hanging fruit type stuff. but can really help you out and get you on the right path. And Pep also has a great book, ebook on Amazon that really helps you wrap your head around the conversion optimization principles if you're not quite there yet. So you can take a look at that.
Yeah, I'm halfway through that. That's great stuff. All right, cool. Well, again, thank you guys, all three of you, for coming today to talk about page fights, talk about getting a little bit more, I guess, innovative with Hangouts, not necessarily even the Google Plus part of it, but the Hangouts in general, and talking about lead gen and, you know, creating really exciting experiences. This was phenomenal. I can't wait to watch it again and pull some little nuggets out for a recap. I guess at this point, you know, we're going to wrap it up, but I want to remind everybody to head over to GPLUSSPOTLIGHT.com because we do share little tips and nuggets with our email subscribers when we talk about new shows and upcoming guests. So you should do that, right? Go to GPLUSSPOTLIGHT.com and sign up. It's right there, front and center. Can't miss it. And other than that, we'll see you guys next week at what is it, July 2nd? Oh gosh, we're in July. Wow. For Google Plus Business Spotlight. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Happy Wednesday.
Bye.